And they're getting beaten very badly by me in the polls. They think the only way they can catch me is to stop me from speaking. They want to take away my voice. And a judge gave a gag order today. Did you hear that on speech?
Former President Donald Trump reacted to a gag order he's been issued while speaking to his supporters in Clive, Iowa. Now, at the request of prosecutors, the partial gag order was issued by US District Judge Tanya Chutkan in advance of Trump's election interference trial. But let's keep it real, it's pretty impossible to try to control a man with a true gift of gab because he can't help himself. And he immediately decided to attack the judge after the partial gag order was issued. Now we'll get to the rest of his speech and what he had to say about the gag order in just a moment. But first, let's get to the details of the gag order itself and why I think it's actually gonna be pretty difficult to enforce. I'll explain why in a minute. The gag order will prohibit all parties from statements publicly targeting special counsel Jack Smith, his staff, Chutkan's staff, or any other court personnel. Now, I assume that would also include the judge herself. Now, statements about the families of those individuals are absolutely prohibited as well. But this is not a strong gag order. What do I mean by that? There are all sorts of exceptions to it, so let's get to those exceptions. In not restricting Trump's criticism of Washington, D.C. or its residents, the judge said, to the extent that Mr. Trump continues to cast aspersions, those statements will be considered in any change of venue motion that his lawyers might file. But further, the judge said, I will not impose restrictions on statements criticizing the government, the Biden administration, or the Department of Justice, or statements that Trump believes this prosecution to be politically motivated. So he can go ahead and continue arguing that it is a politically motivated trial. The judge also tried to walk a fine line on criticism on potential witnesses, such as Trump's former vice president and current political opponent, Mike Pence. I will prohibit statements about potential witnesses or the subject of their testimony. If he wants to criticize Mr. Pence, he may do so, but he may not criticize Mr. Pence about the events in this case. Without this restriction, there is a real risk that other witnesses may be intimidated or other witnesses may be reluctant to come forward lest they be subject to the same harassment or intimidation. And she's right about that, which is why the prosecutors had asked for this gag order to begin with. And she's also barring Trump and all parties from making statements about the witnesses in the case. Trump can argue that this prosecution is politically motivated, the judge said, but he cannot disparage the prosecutor by calling him a thug or vilify and implicitly encourage violence against public servants who are simply doing their jobs. Now, despite the I think multiple loopholes that are implemented in this gag order, Donald Trump just doesn't care, and he feels that he is being muzzled as a result of the partial gag order, which is why he said this while speaking to his supporters in Iowa.
A judge gave a gag order today. Did you hear that on speech? Which I believe is totally unconstitutional what she did. A judge gave a gag order. A judge doesn't like me too much. Her whole life is not liking me. But she gave a gag order. You know what a gag order is? You can't speak badly about your opponent. But this is weaponry all being done because Joe Biden is losing the election and losing very, very badly to all of us in the polls. He's losing badly. But what they don't understand is that I am willing to go to jail if that's what it takes for our country to win and become a democracy again.
Now, that last statement is one that I question. Would he really be willing to go to jail? So, by the way, legal experts, including Barbara McQuaid, who's with the University of Michigan, said, Judge Chutkan said she will impose sanctions for violations, but if Trump does not respond to monetary sanctions, she has to be prepared to cancel his bond and jail him at some point. When push comes to shove, I don't know if that would actually happen. That's my read of it, but
yeah. So that creates a really interesting situation, and that's going to put the justice system to some degree of test here. We'll get to that in a second. So first, this is a mismatch, guys, because Trump is not even running against a political opponent here. He's really fighting the prosecutors, the judge, etc. And political opponents theoretically would campaign against them, but a prosecutor can't and a judge won't. That's not their job. Their job is to just bring the case forward and adjudicate the case, right? So they're not going to go on a marketing spree explaining what a gag order is. They're just going to make their statements and go home, right? But the Trump's going to go out there 200 times. He's like, gag order means you're not allowed to criticize your opponent. That's not true. You just 100% lied about that. She said in the order that you could criticize your opponent. And she explained it with great detail. Like, if you mean Biden, you could criticize him all day long. He's got nothing to do with this case. If you mean like Mike Pence, as if he's really your opponent in the primary, you can criticize him all you like about every other issue under the sun. You just can't say anything about this case regarding Mike Pence. And he says, gag orders are unconstitutional. And of course, every right wing is going to believe that. But that's not even close to true. Of course, it's not unconstitutional. Gag orders are done all the time. For example, when a mobster is under prosecution, and he goes, so maybe Tony wouldn't like it if we came over to his house, and maybe his wife and kids wouldn't like it either. Yeah, the judge can put a gag order on him and say, you're not allowed to say that. You're obviously threatening the witnesses. That's not unconstitutional to say that, okay? Gag orders have been done, I don't know, maybe in the millions of times, certainly in the thousands of times here in America. But he just makes up one load of crap after another, after another, after another. He's a habitual liar. And the prosecution and the judge are never going to be able to keep up with that. So by the end of this process, 40% of the country will be absolutely convinced that they took unconstitutional against this poor action, against this poor victim, and they were trying to get him Muslim so he couldn't speak out against Joe Biden. Joe Biden made the judge do it, etc. No, none of that is true. But is the gag order going to work?
No.
No.
No,
right?
It's not going to work. I mean, he immediately started attacking the judge.
I know, but to be fair, I don't think Trump broke the gag order yet. I saw some people saying that on TV, but I analyzed what he said. Maybe I missed something, but he can attack the judge. The judge did not include herself in the gag order.
You don't think she's part of court staff?
No, she said specifically that she's not part of it.
Okay, all right.
So that was my understanding, but from what I read. And he's allowed to attack Biden, DC, etc. You're just not allowed to intimidate witnesses and staff and prosecutors. And that's the most reasonable order you can have, but he's gonna steamroll past that. Eventually he'll go back to hitting the witnesses and the prosecutor, and then she's gonna be put to a decision. Are you really gonna lock him up?
No, she's not.
We'll see. Oh, by the way, regular people think that there's some chance that Trump is going to be in prison before the election.
Guys,
so I need you to understand, please have normal expectations. Even if he lost these cases, he's gonna appeal. He's not gonna just go straight to jail, right?
He's already appealing this gag order, his legal team is. So we'll see how that plays out. But I have to end with Jason Miller's comment about who he believes is behind the partial gag order. It's just really, it makes me reminisce about the Obama era where everything was blamed on Obama. Thanks, Obama. So Miller said, another partisan knife stuck in the heart of our democracy by crooked Joe Biden, who was granted the right to muzzle his political opponent, the leading candidate for the presidency in 2024 and the most popular political leader in America. Biden had nothing to do with this. I don't know if Jason Miller's aware, but Biden's been a little busy with an ongoing war between Israel and Gaza.
Yeah, and I'll end on my favorite lie of Trump's in that little tirade. This judge, her whole life is about hating me. Really? Really, back in 1987, she was busy hating you? Okay, I know the world revolves around you, Donald Trump. You're the most special little snowflake in the world. Thanks for watching the video, guys. We also love it if you hit the join button below because that makes you a member, and members allow us to be independent, honest. We can be as progressive as we want, no corporate media influence, and that's all because of you guys. We love doing the show with our members. Hit the join button, become one of the Young Turks.